On the night I'm going to describe to you, it happened on my last night out there. I was going home after 4 months. In the lead up to that night, the arterial routes between Baghdad and al-Basra down in that southeast corner were often busy, highlighted by missiles or shot up by guns. But once we got down to the bottom near the Saudi Arabia border, in 4 months nothing had ever happened. So as I swept up my last target, I started to relax. I was going home the next day. I'd lost 2 stone in weight. Nothing else to do out there apart from exercise, and there's no alcohol. And I was looking good. I was thinking about a new dress that I would buy that would fit my stunning new figure in, with my massive neck. And suddenly, without warning, Ringo just went, "Mandy, brake right!" I instantly reacted to his call. I just slammed my throttles fully forward, rolled quickly to 120 degrees. I pulled hard towards the ground, and he started pumping out these things. They're flares. They burn at an incredibly hot intensity, and they act as a decoy to a missile that had fired, locking on to the heat of my engines. This was a maneuver I had practiced hundreds of times before, but never for real. Getting it wrong was not an option. As the flares left, we watched in our little rear view mirrors, we have those, we watched the missile go from being locked on, it pulled off, and it exploded about 2 miles away from our aircraft. We then breathed out, and we may have uttered a couple of small descriptive words, I cannot lie. And we radioed through what had happened, and I'll be honest, chaos broke out on the airwaves. 80 aircraft airborne that night, half of whom were carrying weapons. And the way it works is that once an aggressive act is made towards any one of the aeroplanes, you were entitled to prosecute an attack on your target. Our target was the Red Triangle. It was a radar station that had recently come back online, and we later discovered it was that radar station that had handed the height of our aircraft to the unknown surface-to-air missile cell. So we can look at all the threats, we can do a full briefing, a full threat analysis, but often it's those latent threats, threats that reside within any system, business, or organization that bite us, especially when you tie it together with complacency. The Commander-in-Chief told us to stand by while a plan was formulated. I happened to be leading my first ever combat mission that night. And despite being the most junior on my team, every decision was going to be made by me. After consultation with the team, we decided that we would head down to the tanker, which would increase our options. We had exactly enough fuel to get from where we were to drop our bombs and get back home, but not an ounce more. So let's give ourselves some flexibility. We headed down to the tanker, and when I got down there, I couldn't believe it. There was a massive queue. It was like that 5p off at the petrol pumps feeling, you know. I then get closer and I realised it wasn't even our British tanker. In fact, it was an American tanker, and I had never refueled from one of these before.
Of our insights associated with each of these areas, and we're going to start probably with the most important one, and it's around porosity, opening porosity. What we're really doing when you're trying to change another person's behavior, like Daniel, or like an executive team, you're trying, the first thing that allows you permission to have that dialogue is empathy. Empathy is the bridge to change. Empathy is the bridge to transformation. Empathy is the opportunity, because empathy is us. Yesterday I was describing some of the science that goes into our research, and originally we thought we were going to be psychologists and psychology driven, get into your head and understand psychology. And that's had its impact to a certain level. And then we thought, well, let's study sociology and social change and cultural transformation from a sociologist's perspective. And that was more reporting around what's present as opposed to understanding how to make the change occur. So what was interesting about it, and I met a gentleman.
And leadership is about 3 simple things. Over the next 90 days, focus monomaniacally on 3 simple things. Let me give you some really powerful science before I share those 3 simple things. Here's what University College London says. It takes 66 days to install a new habit so that it reaches the point of automaticity. That's why a lot of us go to an event, we like the ideas, and there's no change. How many people have gone to an event, you've heard some great information, and nothing changes? Show of hands. Okay, this is really key, ladies and gentlemen. No idea will work unless you do the work. Could we hold hands and just say that together, please, on the count of 3? Say that. Just seriously. No idea will work unless I do the work.
But also, as was evidenced in the David Bowie tribute that I did, the station is more than that. The station is a source of inspiration. And someone sent me this picture of their daughter, and I just love it, not just because of her leopard skin leotards here over top of her diaper and the fact that she's got her big sister's shoes on, I think. But her parents said, she's like 2, and her parents said she stood there and watched that video over and over and over again. And I would love to know what she thinks normal is. What are her expectations for what people will do in her lifetime? You know, what opportunities exist for her as a black and white reality that didn't exist at all when I was that age or when any of you were her age? That sense of a new anticipation and expectation of normal is a really important thing to instill in yourself, but also in your family, and maybe even importantly, in everyone that's counting on you. They are counting on you to provide an example that inspires them to do things that they might never have otherwise thought was possible. And that recognition of your own culpability and responsibility for inspiration is a really important one to remind yourself of, that you are inspiring someone else, and your actions speak far louder than your words. And so recognize the importance of that, and develop within yourself the skills and the opportunities that allow it to really flourish.